The Federation Chamber do now adjourn, and I call the member for Canberra.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak for the last time before I will be having my baby, and I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be bringing a new person into this world and what that world will be like. This baby will be born at what is a difficult time for Australia and for our world, as we grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic fallout, the existential crisis of climate change and rising inequality. Young people have worries at the moment that I didn't have when I was a young teenager. It's very disconcerting to me to hear my 2-year-old son Paul talk about after the virus goes, and I'm glad that, thankfully, he's blissfully unaware of most of what it means to be in a pandemic. But it is the young people at school, particularly those finishing high school, who will be most acutely aware of what it means to be in our first recession in 30 years. At a time when they need all the help they can get, their government is decimating the TAFE and university sectors, where they need to be training for the jobs of the future, even attacking the sorts of degrees that they can choose to do, and letting these institutions suffer through this pandemic without help. Young people have been left behind by the government's response. Those supporting themselves through casual work and studying have not been able to access any of the assistance that the government have offered. And young people see our parliament doing nothing about the man-made crisis of climate change, even when it was made so brutally apparent through the bushfires and the smoke crisis we've had here in Canberra, the detriment this is having on our world. Young people have been amongst the most active and informed on these issues, and they see us doing nothing. As a constituent and mother of 3 put it to me the other day, young people at the moment feel that the adults have let them down. And this is a very worrying thing. Teenagers today have worries that I didn't have. But what may shock teenagers today is that when I was a teenager, and I know you think that is so long ago, we did know about climate change. Even when I was in primary school, we learned about what we then called the greenhouse effect. But what me and my school friends never would have imagined was that we would not have addressed it by now. That in the year 2020, I would be standing in a parliament calling for action on climate change. I want this little child, who I don't know yet, to grow up with the same optimism that I had, to have a faith in our democratic institutions, a faith in humanity, and not to feel let down by the adults. But we in this place have to earn that. We couldn't control the advent of a global pandemic, but we can control how we rebuild. We can support our universities to survive this crisis and build up our TAFE sector so that young people can train to take on the jobs of the future. And we can support them with adequate income support while they do this. We can ensure that stable jobs are created in sustainable industries like renewable energy. We can deliver a decent standard of living to all Australians by ensuring that our social security system provides that standard of living, by making sure that job seeker never returns to the inadequate rates of New Start that we had before the pandemic. And we can look more broadly at the system, including family payments, to address the problems for the 1 in 6 Australian children who currently live in poverty. We can increase the age of criminal responsibility so that we stop putting children as young as 10 in jail, mostly First Nations children. And I'm proud to say that the ACT has become the first jurisdiction to commit to this last week. We can begin to address the gap in life outcomes that First Nations children born today still face, beginning by delivering on the Uluru Statement in full and giving First Nations people the voice to Parliament enshrined in the Constitution that they have asked for. We could show today's youth that we uphold our international obligations and a truly welcoming and multicultural country by not locking people up in detention who are exercising their legal right to seek asylum. And we could start by getting 2 little girls, Tharunika and Kapika, out of immigration detention on Christmas Island and returning them to Billawheeler where they belong. Or we can snap back to old ways and continue down the conservative agenda of derision of haves and have-nots that we are. But I want to say to young people today that the adults don't want to let you down, and me and my Labor colleagues are fighting for a fairer future in this place. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank the member for her contribution and give the call to the member for McKellar.
And